Good day, folks. I'm Eddie Robinson, and this session we're going to look at the life cycle of Life School. This is the cycle that a church or an organization goes through when they start Life School. It's important for you to understand this because you are here at this facilitated training, and in a sense you are right in the middle of it, but we want you to see the big picture of where does it start and where does it finish. The first thing I want to say then is that if we implement Life School the right way, we will see the right results. We've seen this all over the world, as we now have hundreds of schools around the world where it is implemented in a way that is similar to what I will explain now. We see the right results. So this life cycle is extremely important. It might look a little bit different depending on your culture or the organization that you are with, but the variances will be minimal. So yes, we understand that every place and culture is different. So I'm going to take you through these 8 steps. Please take notes because it is something you can refer back to, and this will affect your lives in a big way. The first step in this life cycle of Life School is that it starts with a church with a vision. The word is very clear from Proverbs 29:18 that where there is no vision, people perish. So we believe that a church must have a vision to reach their community, to reach a people group. And when a church has that vision, we find that Life School works the best in that scenario. The reason is that Life School is not a Bible school. Yes, it teaches the Bible, and the person coming out there would understand the Bible and the teachings much better. But the end result of this school is not just an education. It is that people go out, they evangelize, they disciple, and they plant churches. So this is a mission school that really results in those 3 things I've just mentioned. Now, we have already met with your leadership, or maybe your trainer met with the leadership of the church, and we've already established that they have that vision. So in a sense, we have already, or should have completed this step with your church or organization. The other thing that is already completed or should be completed at this stage is the host application form, which is the first form that your church or organization will complete before starting a Life School. So number 1, it starts with a church with a vision. The church must have vision before it starts using Life School. I can say that in some cases it might be that a church does not have a lot of vision, it has some vision, or it's willing to develop vision, and Life School does help with that, and we can do that. But when a church has no interest in reaching people and just wants to maintain what they have, we don't see Life School working in that scenario. So the second step in this life cycle is that the facilitator is trained. Facilitator is trained. The church now selects a facilitator. It is agreed to run Life School. It wants to run Life School, and the church leadership chooses a facilitator. Later on, we will look at the characteristics of the facilitator. But I can tell you this, that the facilitator is an extremely important person in this process. The facilitator is the leader in this process. He or she helps the students to be on time, be in the classes, be there regularly, takes them through the teachings, helps them to get counseling if they need it, takes them on outreach. The facilitator is extremely important. Some churches may send more than one facilitator to this training. In fact, maybe today there might be more than one of you at this training, but there will always be a primary facilitator. There will always be one that is the ultimate responsible person. Also, we find that if you have a group of about 8 students, that you have at least one facilitator. So 1 facilitator to 8 students. And the reason for that is that, again, you want to, as the facilitator, get very involved in the lives of your students. Now, if you have 20 students and you're the only facilitator, you're not going to get close to those students. But if you have about 8, you should be able to do that. So if you want to run a school bigger than 8 students, you might consider to have 2 facilitators in that school. And then, as all part of this, we at Live School will then train the facilitator for 2 to 3 days. That's what you are busy with here now and today. You are being trained as your church's facilitator. And this is the last part and the important part of the facilitator being trained. So that was step number 2. First, number 1, church with a vision. Number 2, the church selects a facilitator and we train that facilitator. The third step is the facilitator, after this training, goes back to the church and goes and recruits students. We will speak more about how many students, what kind of students you are looking for, what are the requirements, what will be expected of them. We'll tell you more about that. But you as a facilitator need to go back and get your leadership's help to actually recruit students. That might be that your pastor might preach on a Sunday about missions and at the end make an announcement and say that you're going to start this Live School and explain what it is, and some people will come forward and say, I want to be part of it. It could be that somebody, yourself or your leadership goes and they recruit people one-on-one. There's different ways of doing that, but the students must be recruited. And then also your number of students in your school will depend on your church's size and your church's strategy. If you want to reach 10 places or 10 people groups or anything like that, then you are probably going to need more students, versus if you are just wanting to do something small in your community, then you will need less students. So your strategy will help determine how many students you will need. So that was step number 3, is recruit your students. Number 4 in this life cycle of Live School is to go through the 242 sessions that is in Live School. So the facilitator was trained, he recruits students and comes back and actually takes them through these 242 sessions. Now, the way that the facilitator does that is he needs to organize a place, a suitable place that will be quiet enough, discuss and decide what is the time that will work best for everybody, and then also work out the schedule for the year. And we'll have a whole session on that. How do you work out the actual schedule? How long does it take to complete Live School? So the facilitator organizes all those things in preparation for presenting the 242 sessions. Then he or she will use the how to present a class method that you will learn later on in this facilitator training. There's a certain steps and a certain method that you use to present a class, and the facilitator then uses this method to actually present the video sessions. And remember, it's not just watching sessions, it's not just watching videos. This is something that they have to apply to their lives, and the facilitator helps the students to apply what they're learning to their lives. Okay, so now the facilitator has taken the students through the 242 sessions, or they're busy going through it, and the 5th part of this cycle is outreach. This is very important. Outreach is obviously what this whole thing is about. And the first thing I want to say about that is that all students have to take part of the outreach. It's part of the graduation requirements. We will not require a student if they have not done outreach, and they have to take part of it. And sometimes people will say, well, I'm not an evangelist or this or that, and therefore I don't do outreach. You should not allow that as the facilitator. Every school is different, and the outreach in every school will look different. In some cases, you might be reaching out to a village that's far away and you have to go there for a few days. In some cases, it might be right on your doorstep, your neighbors that you are trying to reach. So depending on the situation, the outreach will look different. The outreach does not only happen after the classes. In fact, they should happen during the classes. So while the facilitator is busy taking the students through the 242 sessions on weekends or some evenings or that kind of thing, he needs to take the students on outreach to the community. You might even say, well, there's a 1 week school break or something of that sort, and you're going to take your students for that whole week to an area that is further away. So outreach also needs to take place during the sessions being presented. Some schools might have full-time outreach for 3 to 4 months or even longer. So let's say you've taken all your students through the sessions, and when they are done with all of them, they get sent to an area where they go live with the people for 3 to 4 months. And while they are there, they evangelize, they disciple, and they may even plant churches, because we find that church planting is still one of the best outreaches, and that is what we want to see established if there is a need for that in that area. So some schools might organize full-time outreach. Later on, we will speak a lot more about outreach, so I'm not going to say too much more about that. So the fifth point in this whole cycle is outreach. Now, if you can imagine, your students have gone through the sessions, they've done some outreach, it might be part-time, it might be full-time. The sixth step that we see in this cycle is graduation. The graduation is a very exciting time because, you know, your students, depending on the kind of school they did, it might have been 9 months of training, it might have been 18 months of training, and now they need to be graduated. There needs to be a celebration and an acknowledgement of what they have done. So we asked the church or the organization to organize a graduation ceremony. This can take place at the church, it can happen at some other venue. It does not have to be something expensive or elaborate. The point is, we want to acknowledge that the students have completed the training. We asked the church to pay for this. It's not something that Life School can do. You can imagine hundreds of churches around the world that have graduations, and that we cannot pay for that. So I have seen some churches, very poor communities, that have done wonderful graduations with just using what they have. And then lastly about graduation is Life School will provide a certificate for the students that have fulfilled the requirements of Life School. Those that have attended the classes, those that have submitted their one-page notes, those that have been on outreach. Once we know all that, we will give that student a certificate, which at the graduation ceremony he will receive or she will receive. So graduation takes place. And then lastly, point number 7 in this whole life cycle of Life School is ongoing ministry. Remember, Life School is not a Bible school. We don't only want to educate people, we want to mobilize and train them. So once your people are trained, once they are graduated, we want them to go out there, we want them to be used by the church. So they are trained for reaching unreached people and unreached communities, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's a people group in another country. That's what they've been trained for. That's what they must be used for. They could serve right there in the church. I've seen many churches use their students to help lead worship, to present small groups, to handle some of the programs in the church. But they can also be used in the villages and in the regions, and in some cases even other countries. The point is they must be used after they have graduated. And we often see that these graduates go and plant churches. In fact, as I've said earlier, this is what we want to see happening. If there's a need for a church in your community, or a need for a church in the next community or people group or country, wherever your vision and focus is, these graduates plant churches. We've seen one of our schools up to now, the students and some of the members have planted 28 churches using their graduates. And also what we have seen is that some churches and schools actually use Life School as a strategy. They actually train their graduates, they send them to other communities to go start Life School. So in a sense, that is ongoing ministry that happens as they start more Life Schools, help more churches train their people so that they can be more effective. So that is the 7th step is the ongoing ministry that has to take place. And then the last step in this life cycle is that this process has to be repeated. Life School was not designed to only be run by a church once and then it's over. The idea is, once you've graduated your students, recruit more and go through steps 2 to 7 again, and just, you don't need to train your facilitator again. Your facilitator is trained. Take more people through the training and outreach, and then you have more people that the church can use as well. So some churches we have found that they are too small. They might not have enough people that they can recruit more students, and we encourage them to partner with other churches and to do a school together. So that's also a way of doing that. So folks, those are the 8 steps or parts of the life cycle of a life school. If I can repeat them very quickly to you, it starts, number 1, with a church with a vision. Vision is important. Life school does not function where there's no vision in the church. Secondly, that church recruits a facilitator, and we at Life School would actually train that facilitator like you are being trained right now. Thirdly, once the facilitator training is over, the facilitator goes back to the church and with the help of the leadership recruits students. And fourthly, they start the school. They present the 242 sessions. Number 5 is those students during the classes and afterwards will do outreach. Number 6, once they've finished the sessions and the outreach, they will graduate. Number 7, they will be involved in ongoing ministry and will actually help the church to achieve their vision and to fulfill the strategy that they are busy with. And number 8, the church repeats that process. So folks, that's very important that you understand that. I hope we have helped you to see the bigger picture that you are part of. And as you go from here, you will actually start on step number 3, where you will go with your church leadership and you will go and recruit students and then start your school. So we pray God's blessings on you, and pray that He will help you and your church to go through these steps and be effective in affecting people's lives and reaching the unreached and planting churches. God bless you.